Wilde's contemporary J.M. Barrie wrote a play, Peter Pan, in which he tried to make the case for growing up by showing how sterile and futile living for pleasure could be. Peter Pan is lost, and he lives in a place that doesn't exist, Neverland, where he does nothing but chase red Indians and pirates every day. And after a while, it becomes meaningless. So he goes back to London looking for one thing: someone to tell him meaningful stories. You see, meaningful stories of the fairy tale sort, fairy tales are a Christian invention, always begin once upon a time. They always have the characters go through meaningful pain that leads them to live happily ever after. Why do we not live in fairy tales? Because we want to skip the meaningful pain and go directly to the happily ever after. And this is what Peter had done. So he went looking for a mother. And he found Wendy, of course, and brought her back to Neverland. But Wendy, by her very presence, destroyed Neverland. Why? Because as a mother, so-called, she began to tell meaningful stories that showed that most of what they were doing was stupid. Like high school students who spend all their time amusing themselves but don't realize that if they don't grow up, eventually they'll be middle-aged people like the parents they despise, continuing to listen to the same music the year they graduated from high school. They are simply the middle-age crisis waiting to happen. Peter has a midlife crisis with Wendy. And ultimately, she can't stay because she wants to be a real mother, but he will never become a father. Because to be a father means to grow up, and growing up means experiencing meaningful pain. The end of the story, which is seldom told, has Peter returning to get Wendy one year for spring cleaning. And he shakes her in the bed. But he doesn't realize that he's been gone for years because time has no meaning in Neverland. And Wendy is by the fireplace, and she turns and says, "Peter, stop it." And Pan looks up because it's Wendy's daughter, Jane, that's in the bed. And Wendy says, "No, Peter." And he looks at her in horror and says, "Wendy, darling, you've grown old." Little gray around the temples, lines near her eyes. And Wendy says the wisest thing in the play that we no longer understand because we've been amused to death. She says, "I haven't grown old. I've become a mother." There is no fecundity. There is no immortality. There is no future for a culture that will not embrace the stretch marks that are the growing pains of heaven. And yet we live in a culture where women who look like their daughters are applauded, and mothers are not understood. Where men never develop mature tastes in women, and women never develop mature tastes in men. We are a culture of Peter Pans, playing with pirates and red Indians, meaninglessly living lives of no consequence. We are children, mentally, and we have no children. The alternative is the pain of spiritual maturity, of leaving Neverland, even a Christian Neverland, behind, embracing the cross, ceasing to amuse ourselves to death, so that we can finally fall in love and see the face of God. Thank you.